The Littleton Licensing Authority will come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Authority Chair Cole.
Here.
Vice Chair Levier.
Here.
Authority Member Buchanan.
Here.
Authority Member Day. Authority Member Schock.
Here.
Authority Member Webb.
Here.
Authority Member Winsack.
We have a quorum. The next item is approval of the agenda. Are there any additions or changes or a motion?
Motion to approve?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? All right, the next item on the agenda, 3A, is certification of the July 13th, 2016 regular meeting minutes. Did anyone have any changes or does anyone have a motion?
I move to approve, based on the clerk's certification, the July 13th video as the minutes for the July 13th, 2016 regular meeting of the Littleton Licensing Authority.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Next item on the agenda is item 5A, resolution to approve a liquor license application for Blacktip LLC, doing business as The Lost Cajun, 5350 South Santa Fe Drive, Unit F, Littleton, Colorado. Is there a representative from the applicant here? Good evening. Would you introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Nicole Chatham. I'm from Moy White, and I'm here representing Blacktip LLC and its owner, Greg Jones, who, as you mentioned, will be doing business in Littleton as a franchisee of The Lost Cajun. And at this time, I want to introduce him as well as his director of operations, John Schaefer, and Max Scott of Oedipus, who I know you all are very familiar with. And he'll be presenting our petitioning results. And then I didn't know if you would prefer to swear them all in now or one at a time as we go, whatever.
Sure, we can do it all. Is it Ms. Chatham or Chatham?
Chatham.
Chatham. Yeah, why don't you, if you want to bring everyone up, we can swear them in. And then we also need to enter, we have attachments or exhibits A through G. I'll go ahead and move that we enter exhibits A through G.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay. So for the three of you, will you please raise your hand? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give before this authority is truthful?
Yes, thank you.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. Go ahead and take us through the application, please.
Yeah, so if this works, I was just going to have Greg come up and tell you a little bit about the restaurant concept and why he chose to open his first of 4 locations in Littleton, and then have John come up and kind of walk you through how he plans to manage the day-to-day operations, especially as it relates to alcoholic beverage service and consumption.
Yep, that works great.
Okay, great. So Greg, if you want to come up.
And you know the drill. Okay, just make sure that both of you are speaking into the microphone. The video recording is our official record for this. So
Okay.
make sure that we can hear you as you exchange it back and forth, please.
Okay, yeah, I'm not going to do. I'm just going to have him just
Okay.
tell you about the concept and.
Great.
First of all, let me thank you for giving us the opportunity to come here tonight. A little bit about myself.
Sorry, will you please introduce yourself? I know.
I'm sorry. Greg Jones. I'm the area developer for the Lost Cajun, South Denver. I'm looking to open 4 stores. Moved here about a year and a half ago for my wife to take a transfer. She's the chief nursing officer over at Health South Rehab over on Littleton. Mm-hmm. So we have a connection to the community. I'm for the most part, lifelong resident of Louisiana, except for a couple of years when John and I were stationed together and actually roommates in the Army in Germany. We go back that far together. We know each other's strengths, we know each other's weaknesses, and we've long talked about working together. The Lost Cajun concept is very simple. We are bringing the authentic, not the appropriated taste of Louisiana to Denver. A couple of years ago, I went into the Lost Cajun in Breckenridge. My son dragged me kicking and screaming. I do not eat Cajun food more than about 30 miles outside the border of Louisiana because it's generally garbage. When he finally got me in there, I sat down and I ate it, and I immediately began looking for the owner to see if they were interested in expanding into Denver. 2 years later, here we are. The Lost Cajun, we basically are going to bring the culture, the food, and the atmosphere of a mom and pop restaurant down on the bayou in South Louisiana. The founder is from the swamp south of New Orleans, about 30 miles. He is a 100% certified Cajun, and his recipes were developed in the swamps of South Louisiana. We are bringing Cajun as opposed to Creole. For what it's worth, Creole is a little bit more of a high tone, tomato-based. We're bringing the brown stuff: gumbo, etouffee, jambalaya, 4 different po' boys, red beans and rice, the best fried catfish I promise you will have ever eaten. I've eaten enough to fill a battleship, and when I ate theirs, that was my comment. I said, this is the best fried catfish I've ever had. Obviously, the reason we're here tonight is to obtain a license to sell alcoholic beverages. I will tell you right now, in Louisiana, Cajun food and cold beer is like peanut butter and jelly. They just were made to go together. You don't go to a crawfish boil, you don't go to a Cajun restaurant and get your lips burning, your nose running, and your forehead sweaty without having a cold beer in front of you. We intend on bringing Louisiana beer here for Colorado to find out what we really do down there. Despite everything that you've heard, there's an awful lot of good things about Louisiana. Our culture is almost 400 years old. It goes back to a mixture of the Acadians who came from Nova Scotia and the Creoles, the Spanish, the French, and basically what we did is we put it all in one big pot and we took a paddle and we stirred it up and we call it Cajun cooking. And I ask your approval tonight for this portion of our endeavor. And if you have any questions, I will be more than happy to answer anything that you see as appropriate or that you're just curious about.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions before I'm guessing we'll cycle back if we do have any questions after we hear.
Mr. Jones,
Yes, sir.
if this authority grants you a license tonight, what's your projected opening date?
We are hoping for October 1st. Right now, all our plans have been submitted to the city, and we're waiting on the permit department. We are in a prior restaurant. All our demolition work has been done, and the day we get our permits and we get our contractor in, we're looking at about between 21 and 30-day turnaround.
All right, tell us your projections for the percentage of alcohol sales compared to whole food sales.
That would be a question that John, my manager, can handle. I'm the developer, he's the manager. If you could
We'll wait for Mr. Schaefer.
wait on him, I write the checks, and I'm the front guy. John has been in the business, as you'll find out, a long time, and he's the nuts and bolts guy.
Before I let Greg go back, could you just talk a little bit why you chose the location in Littleton that you chose? And then we'll bring John up to kind of go through the nuts and bolts day-to-day stuff.
We started this last December, and I have looked at real estate in every corner of town. And when I saw the place available that we're at, I knew right then it was a home run. 125,000 cars a day pass by where we're looking over the street corner. The household income, the number of day workers, all fit what I'm looking for. Littleton has everything that I demand in a location, and then some. The people that are reaching out to us on Facebook, through email, on the telephone, it's incredible. We have a product that your citizens really want to see. Over 100,000 people on Facebook have seen our page. I've got over 200 people that have friended us on Facebook in 2 months. People stop by every day. I had 10 phone calls today and asking when we're going to open and going, we're so happy to see you coming. But I like Littleton, and if we weren't under such constraints contractually, I would probably consider opening a second one here. This is a thriving place, and from what I can see, it's only going to get better. And I look forward not only to bringing you a product that I think you'll like, but I'm really impressed with the people that we've had come by so far and talk to us, and I'm looking forward to putting a lot of them to work.
All right, thank you, Mr. Jones.
As part of the liquor license, you are aware of the requirements to pay sales tax, stay current on all taxes and licenses fees. You don't foresee that being a problem. You have enough capital to sustain everything. And
I am a retired CPA. I know more about sales taxes than I really want to know. I couldn't tell you how many sales tax returns I've filed, not to mention how many sales tax audits I've been through as a representative of my clients. I have a bookkeeper that is doing the books for other restaurants, other Lost Cajun. She knows our system inside out, and she will be filing those sales tax reports for me, but I will be checking up behind her.
Great.
Rest assured, we will be filing on time in the proper amounts. I don't like sales tax audits, and I do everything I can to avoid having to go through them.
All right, thank you, Mr. Jones. If we have any questions afterwards, we'll
Thank you.
bring it up. Thank you.
So,
Good evening. Can you just introduce yourself for the record?
Good evening, I'm John Schaefer. I'm the Director of Operations for Greg.
All right.
Yeah.
and so kind of like we talked about before, could you just kind of walk us through the customer experience, from the time I walk
Sure.
in the door, especially as it relates to,
Absolutely.
ordering and consuming
Yeah.
alcohol?
Sure. First to answer your question, sir, hopefully it's around 20%. We're more about food than alcohol sales. We only are going to maintain 3 tap handles, all Louisiana craft beer, and some hurricane machines. So primarily we're food. We're not a tavern, not a bar, we're food. My background, I have about 20 years experience in restaurants, maintaining liquor license. I've never had a violation, and most of that's due to the fact I was lucky enough to be trained in some corporations who put really the emphasis on alcohol awareness. And we do that at day one. Alcohol awareness is at the orientation. We talk about civil liability, we talk about dram shop laws, and then we go into our training where we'll discuss steps of service and checking IDs, and everything is non-negotiable, which is we check all IDs regardless of age. What else? We look for the demeanor of the guest to determine if they came into our building already under the influence. All these are indicators the server will ascertain as soon as they approach the table. They count drinks. If a guest had more than 3 drinks in less than an hour, they have to get a manager involved, and we kind of authorize them to make the sale. That way we take the server out of the loop, But I've been doing this a long time, and I don't think you'll find anyone who is more concerned about keeping our guests and our community safe than me.
All right, thank you. Did you have
Did
any
you
other?
want to talk just a little bit?
Can you use the microphone?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, if you just want to cover, hours of operation.
Sure.
And then also kind of where the alcohol is going to be stored and how it's going to be controlled. And then I'll let you guys ask any questions that you might have.
We open for lunch at 11, we'll close at 9. Again, it's not late night hours. We might stay up until 10 on the weekend if business dictates it. We will have a locked cage for storing alcohol. And again, we won't have that much. Primarily, it's beer, a few bottled beer and 3 drafts, and a couple box wine things. Not a lot of liquor involved, just a small well, but it will be in a cage, locked, only able to be, unlocked by a manager or a key employee.
Who do you use for distribution? you said it's crafted Louisiana beer, so that has to
Right.
obviously use a distributor in Colorado?
We use Breakthrough Beverage Distributors.
Okay.
And we're hoping to primarily have them, as there are so many distributors in the state, and you have to work with a lot of them to get an array of liquors, we're hoping to just focus in on what Breakthrough has. And we might, I think we'll carry Coors Light, but other than that, it's a small selection, and it's the food that pairs with Cajun Cuisine, and that's why we're carrying it. And it's all about, we tell our kids it's about the cultural experience that you're going to receive, and pairing the food with the beer, and making sure that we have a great just hospitality, Southern hospitality, and it's all going to be just fun and safe.
I think I can make the argument that Jack's beer goes with anything Cajun, but tell us about your tips training. Have you secured a contract with Max or others to provide tips training to your servers?
Right. So far, we haven't hired any staff. I myself have ServSafe alcohol class license, so I will probably lead that, and that's a requirement. We'll put a date where we'll check with the city and where it's available here in Denver. But most of the time, I'll tell our kids, you've got 3 months. You've got to get this done, and it will be 100% compliance.
Do you, as part of our Exhibit A, the application, we've got a picture of the floor plan, and it's just a little bit hard to make out, so I wanted to ask about the patio. Is there a fence around the patio?
There will be a perimeter fence around, complete enclosed. There will be one exit for emergencies, but it will be clearly marked emergencies only. We'll also have the sign posted, absolutely no alcohol beyond this point, and no smoking, and everything that should lead people to stay within the perimeter. And the patio itself is adjacent to a 30-foot window, so we have absolute visibility of the patio. There's no obstructions at all.
And just for reference, is this on the east side of is it the last unit on the east side?
Right.
Okay.
Is the patio facing Santa Fe Drive?
Portion of it is, and some of it is Prince. It's sort of,
Right in the corner.
yeah, Santa Fe goes that, and then Prince goes around like this.
Any other questions about the application or the operations?
You're open from lunch 11 to 9, is that 7 days a week?
Yes, indeed.
How many employees do you anticipate hiring?
We're probably going to hire somewhere in the vicinity of 18 to 22, depending on volume. And this will be a store that's going to train and circulate additional staffing for our upcoming stores.
And just as a point of curiosity, this may be for Mr. Jones, what does black tip refer to?
Prior to moving up here, I spent an awful lot of time in Gulf Shores, Alabama on the pier fishing, and there were 2 or 3 favorites that I had. A black tip shark fight that would last sometimes depending on the size of the fish, upwards of 2 hours before they either broke off or we got them up and cut them off. Black tips are aggressive, they're all business, and I have a great deal of admiration for that species of fish, and it took me about 3 minutes to come up with that. And it plays off also because they're a fine-eating fish as well.
Thank you for the input.
Revisiting the schematic and the patio for a second, do you envision the fence around the patio being like a 2.5 foot, 3 foot fence that's more to prevent people from walking out? Or do you envision something more restrictive to keep people in?
One thing we're going to try and do is make it, you might have seen the plexiglass ones where it doesn't obstruct the view. Mm-hmm. We're looking into that, and but it's definitely going to be a fence that it's not going to be, something that you could just hop over. We want to dissuade people from attempting to just hop it.
And what's the seating capacity of the interior and the patio?
We have 73 inside, and approximately 40 would go on the patio.
I'm trying to think of anywhere else in the city where there's a patio so close to Santa Fe, and I know that's a busy, highly trafficked road. So I just want to make sure there's, some people, they get an idea in their head, and they're like, oh, I need to run over there real quick, and they just hop a fence and they run out. And I don't know if Santa Fe being...
We would take all precautions that the city dictates to ensure that there's just absolutely no variance when it comes to the fence that's required.
If I might, could I address that, please?
Yeah, come on up. Just make sure you're talking to the microphone, please.
On the west side of the deck that faces the street, our architectural plans have an 8-foot clear plexiglass sound barrier. So from the corner of the building along Santa Fe, turning the corner a number of feet along Prince, there will be a clear plexiglass barrier which would prevent anyone from accident. There's no way that they're going to be able to accident. Well, I'm not going to say no way. They really would have to go out of their way to go over that way and then another 20 feet or more of grass to cross to get into the street.
Okay. That makes sense.
And as John said, envision a boat dock. That's what we're calling it, the dock. It will be at least a 3-foot high multi-rail barrier fence all the way around that goes all the way back around to the other corner.
All right. Any other operations questions before we, anything else you want to add before we get to the survey?
I don't think so. I just want to let you get, I'm excited to be in Littleton. I've cruised around, and it's neat to see an old town that's still vibrant and in the middle of all this mess you call Denver, because I'm from Loveland. And that really excites me to just be involved with the proximity to that. It's awesome to see that it's still clicking, and there's buildings that are newer than 20 years or older. So thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
And then I'll let Max go ahead and come up and present his results.
All right,
He doesn't need me so much.
all right. Good evening.
Good evening. My name's Max Scott. I own and operate Oedipus Incorporated. Our office is at 1216 Tipperary Street in unincorporated Boulder County. We were retained to do a survey, and we did. When we do a survey on premise, parties and interests want to know two things. What's the menu and when's it going to open? So I don't know if a menu was tendered, but we displayed that to every person. It is reasonably extensive, and it also has a child's menu. Then, after they were voir dired, parties and interests were asked if they favored or opposed. The defined neighborhood is on page 5 if you happen to have a copy of the report. We also carried the city's map. The blue areas are the businesses that we surveyed. Pink are the residences, mostly homeowner occupied, but some tenant occupied, and then we were denied access at the Centennial Golf Course and Tennis Club, even though we did their license. The survey results are on page 2. Item number 1, I'm reporting to the client that we did what we contracted to do, and we were paid in full. Thank you very much. Oh, I'm looking the wrong way. Thank you very much. Item number 2 are the parties and interests that we surveyed. 40 businesses favoring, 0 against. We had 150 residences favoring, 0 against. However, we did have some verbals, so they were qualified as a party in interest and participated in the survey, but didn't want to sign the petition. And we include those because we sometimes have that question from licensing authorities. So we had 1 that favored, and we had 8 that opposed but didn't sign, but we categorized the reasons anyway. On page 3, gross results are, if you round up, 96% favoring the issuance of the license. And if you buy our argument about abhorrence of alcohol, which is primarily Mobile versus Meyer, you'd eliminate that as a desire reason. So we had 1 person that addressed there's enough licenses in the defined neighborhood. and subtracting out the abhorrence of alcohol, the survey result goes to 99%. Margin of error is 1%, added in, subtracted out, both are over 50%, and show a need and a desire for a new hotel restaurant class of license. Any questions? I have one more comment after that.
Was it very difficult sitting and waiting until the end of the
Was it
presentation?
difficult, what?
Was it difficult to wait until the end of the presentation to get your shot to come up? You're usually the first one.
Oh, that depends who's running the show, and I'm not running the show. It was Nicole. And sometimes other licensing authorities meet on the same day, which is the case today, but you're the last one. So should I go ahead and make the additional remark? We are, you've heard this before, we're certified as a responsible vendor, which is a statutory name for alcohol training with the state. I just took their latest seminar. Surprisingly, some of the people didn't know what they were talking about, and I got 2 different answers for the same question in the morning and then in the afternoon. We've updated all of our training materials. I've provided those for several things that have changed, both in terms of the CRS and the regulations. So that's all I have, and we're available if they would like us to do that. Or they can just pick up the phone and I talk for free until I check out.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. Any other questions? All right. Any other questions for the applicant? Is there anything you want to close with?
So, I just wanted to kind of sum up that, I think Greg believes that, he has provided all the evidence necessary to show, but either in the file or through, their testimony tonight, that they have possession of the premises at 5350 South Santa Fe, and that at those premises, including the patio, are suitable for the hotel and restaurant license that they're applying for. And that Greg and John are both of a good moral character, and that this license, if it's granted, will meet the needs and desires of the neighborhood. So if there are no other questions.
Any other questions? All right. Thank you, Ms. Chatham.
I'll just respectfully request that you grant the applicant the requested license, and thank you so much for your time.
All right. Thank you. Any discussion from the authority or a motion? Oh, sorry.
Just note for the
Public roster. Yes. Since this is a public hearing, is there anyone else who would like to speak? Thank you for the reminder. Seeing none. Any discussion from the authority?
Any input from the clerk's office?
None, other than I'm waiting for etouffee, and the state is ready to issue. They did a concurrent review, so they're ready to issue if we approve.
All right. Thank you.
And for those watching at home who may not have accessed the materials online, I want to point out Exhibit B is memorandum from Littleton Police that shows a background check, turned up nothing derogatory. Any other thoughts?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion.
Please do.
I move that the public hearing be closed and that a resolution of the Littleton Licensing Authority be approved, which grants the Lost Cajun, 5350 South Santa Fe Drive, Unit F, Littleton, Colorado, a hotel and restaurant license LM2, contingent upon approval by the Colorado Liquor Enforcement Division, and based upon the followings of fact. 1, that the notice of the hearing was properly published and posted. 2, that the applicant has possession of the premises. The premises are suitable for the requested license. 3, that the needs in the neighborhood are not now being met. 4, that it is the desire of the adult inhabitants of the neighborhood that the license be issued. 5, that existing similar liquor licenses in the designated neighborhood are not adequate. And 6, that the applicant and registered manager are of good moral character, record, and reputation.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Everything seems to be in order to me. Any other thoughts? With that, will you please poll the authority?
Authority Chair Cole,
Yes.
Vice Chair Levere,
Yes.
Authority Member Buchanan,
Yes.
Authority Member Webb,
Yes.
Authority Member Schock.
Yes.
It passes unanimously. Congratulations, gentlemen. Welcome to Littleton.
Good luck to you.
Next item on the agenda is 16A. Any reports from staff? Nope. 16B, anything from the members?
Just one point of clarification. Kristen, I know when we proposed the motion, I proposed the motion for the minutes, and I said the video as the minutes for the meeting. And then on the next page, we've got the action items, and it's titled Meeting Minutes. Are these the minutes, or is the video the minutes?
The video is the minutes. We just provide the action journal to make sure that we've captured the mover and the seconder and the votes correctly, but the video is still the minutes of record.
Okay.
Anything else?
If we are planning on having a meeting next month, I believe it'd be September 14th, and I will be out of town for business.
Do we have anything next month?
Courtyard by Marriott on County Line.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
The possibility exists I might be out of town also. I won't know for another couple weeks.
Okay. Thanks for the heads up. Anything else from the authority? I just wanted to mention or ask staff, last month, I was reflecting on that being our first potential violation we had seen in a number of months, and thinking that we hadn't seen the police department represented in a while. Would it be possible for you all to request next month if a representative comes and just gives an update and brings us up to speed if there's any changes or anything else?
We will absolutely do that.
Okay, thank you very much. Anything else? Yes?
I'm sorry. I just wanted to let you know that next, actually at the end of this month, I'll be attending a training offered by State Liquor specifically talking about Senate Bill 16197. So if there are any specific questions you have, please let me know before the 25th so I can get them addressed with State Liquor.
That's September 25th?
I'm sorry, August 25th.
August 25th, okay.
Yeah.
Well, if we don't get you any specific questions, I'm sure we'll be interested to hear what you learn.
Yeah, we were talking before the session about the impact of that. And given the sweep of convenience stores we have that are licensed that will now be able to sell in 2018 full-strength beer, be interesting to know how many licensees we have that might now fall under our purview.
I'd have to look that up and let you know.
Okay, it's not urgent, but just out of a matter of curiosity.
I had heard a rumor that, because I haven't been there, but Breckenridge Brewery is now only serving the beer that they brew and no liquor. Have they abandoned their liquor license? Their city license, I suppose?
They now operate, they were sold to Anheuser-Busch, and so they are now operating under a manufacturer's license issued by the state only. So yes, they are no longer licensed by the city. They no longer hold dual licensing. They are no longer a brew pub.
Anything else? That being the end of our agenda, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
I so move.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? This meeting is adjourned.
Thanks.